What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another GIM video. Now, for new viewers to the series, just to let you know, this series follows this account speaking to you right now, which is a already maxed Grandmaster account. But the series all started following the journey of 416 Hero, our 50 defense GIM account. But we are looking to max that account, and we've been doing a lot of progress, making a lot of progress in that regard. But along the way, though, we're also going to be doing random things, sometimes on this account to help the max and grind, but also just completely unrelated things. We get into one of those things right now. Even as a max Grandmaster account, we're missing a couple of items, and one of the notable things is the Void Waker from the Wilderness. Now, we're in a very unfortunate situation here where we are extremely dry for the Void Waker blade at Calvarion. We haven't even really dove into the other two bosses in the Wilderness just yet. Now, how dry are we? Well, currently at the start of this video, we are at KC 3,789, I believe. Now, the Void Waker blade is a drop rate of 1 in 912 at Calvarion. We started this road to max a little while ago now, and while we have made big progress snagging a few 99s like smithing, more recently agility, thieving, construction, cooking, well, you can see here on the skills tab, there's still a long way to go. The next thing we're going to be tackling is going to be prayer. We're currently sitting at 63 prayer. This is something we personally capped ourselves at for the Titan prayers. Well, we're going to be moving on from that, and we'll be moving on from 50 defense in the near future. But right now, we're getting rid of prayer. It's finally time. With that being said, we have just under 20,000 dragon bones, and we have a few other types of bones like frost dragon bones sitting in the bank as well. This isn't going to get us all the way to 99, especially since we're probably going to do the Varlamore bone shards method. If we were to do the Wildy altar, we have more than enough, even accounting for some losses in the Wilderness. But for the comfort level, we're just going to be doing the Varlamore method. And while we're not going to get 99 off of what we have right now, that is perfectly fine because we're going to get more bone shards through calcified rocks mining for mining EXP, as well as getting prayer EXP over the course of a Slayer grind. Currently, we're sitting at just 88 Slayer, so we're going to be picking up a lot of passive prayer EXP by means of the Bone Crusher and the Ash Sanctifier, and any Dragon Slayer tasks we might have. So the first order of business with all the bones we do currently have is that we're going to have to start chiseling them down into bone shards. But I believe it's a multi-step process. First thing, we have to unnote these dragon bones we have on our inventory, and then we go up to this exposed altar up here, and I believe we bless the bones. There we go. Now we can start chiseling them. So I guess I'll be parked up here for a while, only leaving to do birdhouse runs as we're currently 92 hunter, and we do plan on getting the 99 exclusively through birdhouses. So yeah, we're going to be up here for a while. Even after we're done with these 20,000 dragon bones or so, we still have like 4.3 thousand frost dragon bones and a few other things. It seems like we're getting 5 crafting EXP per bone right now, and that's certainly not a whole lot, but going through 20,000 bones, more than 20,000 bones, I'm sure that's going to add up, and currently we're 90 crafting. I do have 99 crafting banked in some fashion, one way or another, whether that's through gems or molten glass. Well, we'd have to get more molten glass. It's mostly going to be through gems. But the point is, we have it banked, but we're holding off on that right now because we're going to be gaining crafting EXP doing this, and we're also going to be gaining crafting EXP when we do rune crafting at Guardians of the Rift and the Zaya rune crafting method, getting us soul runes and blood runes. So I'm just trying to be a little macro efficient in that regard and planning ahead. Well, with that being said, we're going to be here for a while. This is a lot of bones to get through. So I'm probably going to find some other things to do on our already maxed Grandmaster group Ironman. Maybe it's finally time to get up to some grinds again, because that account has been sitting inactive or slaving away, grabbing more dragon bones for a while now. Maybe it's time to actually go do something on there. Dismiss Dr. Jekyll, but one more note here actually. It is worth noting that I can manually chisel and it is significantly faster, but I don't think I'm going to be doing this for 20,000 plus bones. I'd rather let it sit in the background while I do something else. Alright, I could very quickly come to regret this, but I couldn't decide what I wanted to do on the maxed account. And for those that don't know, a sore spot on the account is that I've been very dry on the Void Waker, let alone the entire Void Waker piece. We don't even have one. The dryness, oh, I didn't actually mean to jump right in, but you know what? Actually, let's just go ahead and finish this first KC, and I'll show you guys what my KC is here at Calvarion, and we don't even have the blade here just yet. And we've been at this boss for many hours, hundreds of hours even. Yes, that's right, over 100 hours here at this boss easily, and that's because we're very dry for the Void Waker blade, to say the least. We'll be able to look at what KC we're at right after we finish the boss right here. Get ourselves some death runes, and looking in the chat, we're at 3,790 KC. Now the Void Waker blade is a 1 in 912, I want to say, here at this boss. So yeah, for sure we're over 4x and we're on our way to 5x. We'll just see what happens. And I've had very bad experiences out here in the wilderness, to the point where, you know, maybe I'm complaining a bit too much. So this time around, I don't know how long I'm going to be staying out here for, but I'm going to do my best to just, you know, not whine about it, not complain about it. And hopefully we'll be rewarded with the blade, and then we can move on to the other two bosses. Because to be honest, at this point on this account, there aren't too many other grinds to do. We're always just waiting on new content to do, or just finding something really obscure and arbitrary to do on this account. Once upon a time, I thought I needed the Void Waker to become a Grandmaster. Well, turns out that wasn't the case. I did it without one. And to be honest, moving forward, I can continue to not have a Void Waker. But right now, it's the Void Waker, it's Corp for the Ellie, it's Fasanis for the remaining 2 orbs, and that's about it, and any future content that might be coming out. For what it's worth, when we're not getting the blade here at Calvarion, the resource loot table is pretty nice. We just picked up some Libwort runes, which is very relevant for our Herblore EXP for super strength potions, and there's dragon bones on the drop table here as well, and as you know, we're working on prayer right this second. There's also a lot of Herblore drops, like Herb Straight Up, and things of that nature, Zammy wines, a lot of relevant things for Ironman for skilling. So that's very nice. 220 oak planks, so that's construction EXP right there. Not relevant for us now anymore, but for any Ironmen out there, 220 oak planks are waiting for you at Calvarion. It's tough to switch the POV over right now. For one thing, we're in the wilderness, so we always got to stay focused here. And 2, we're at Calvarion, where the boss actually respawns very quickly. There's little to no downtime. But with that being said, just want to update you guys on the current bone shard progression here. We started with just under 20,000 dragon bones, and we've chipped away at nearly 2,000 of them already. So even though we're just letting it, you know, AFK auto chisel, it's actually not taking too long. I mean, if we're going to stay here at Calvarion for the entirety of the 20,000 dragon bones, we might not actually get too many KCs. Well, we were pretty close to this milestone already, but it's a milestone nonetheless. We're about to reach, okay, of course we hit a 0. This is going to be KC 3,800. And some death runes and blighted Karambwans to extend our trip here just a little bit longer. So I pulled up the wiki just to reaffirm the drop rate here, and it is indeed a 1 in 912 chance of getting the Void Waker blade. Looks like that drop rate has been seared into my brain. I haven't been back here for many months, but still remember the exact drop rate. Obviously, because over the course of the grind, I've looked it up many a times. So it is indeed 1 in 912, and currently we just surpassed the 3,800 KC mark, and in order to reach 5x dry, not that that's our goal, you know, hopefully this time around we just grab it in the next couple of KCs, we can only hope, but if we do reach 5 times dry, that means we would have 4,560 KC, so yeah, we don't want to see that number. Now this 3800 KC that we've racked up here at Calvarion, unfortunately not all of it was done with the Inquisitor's Mace, which I believe is the next best in slot thing outside of getting Vigora's Chain Mace. Something that I'm not going to do. In fact, that goes for all of the wilderness weapons. I don't plan on getting any of them. I think the time it takes to get them is just way too long. It's too much of a time investment, and it's not like I plan on doing any more wilderness once I have the Void Wicker in my possession. Now, it is, it kind of goes against my argument here because, I'm somewhere between 4 and 5 times dry at the Calvarion boss, and you might be like, maybe you should have got the Vigora's Chain Mace. But the thing is, on paper, it really shouldn't have taken us this long. Of course, you can never account for how RNG is going to play out, but basically what I'm trying to say is, due to unfortunate RNG, I've been here at Calvarion way longer than all 3 grinds at the 3 respective bosses combined. So we can only hope that the RNG is gonna kind of course correct, if you will, and maybe once we get our hands on the Void Wicker Blade here at Calvarion, we won't spend too much time at Spindle or Ardio. So in between KCs here, I did manage to throw up the collection log very briefly, took a screenshot of it, and hopefully I remembered to throw it in post-edit. But you can see that I do have quite a few Dragon Pickaxes, Dragon 2 Hands. The Dragon 2 Hands, some of them might have been from KQ as well. I do believe it's on that drop table. I did go dry initially on my very first Dragon Pickaxe on this account, unfortunately. I tried to get it at KQ and Calvarion, and I do have about 600, 700 KQ, KC. Unfortunately, never got it there, as I wanted to avoid the wilderness. You know how it goes. Did end up finally getting it here at Calvarion. Despite multiple Dragon Pickaxe pulls now, I think I want to say I'm still pretty unlucky on the number of Dragon Pickaxes I should have. But that's just another thing to complain about, I could continue going dry on Dragon Pickaxes if the game would just give me my Void Wicker Blade. So we're pretty deep into this session right now, and knock on wood, we haven't been interrupted by a PKer. Now, just proc the Hellhounds for the first phase here, and I hit up the recorder because I was wondering if only one was going to spawn. A few KCs now, I've noticed that occasionally only one Hellhound spawns when it's supposed to be always 2. So I wonder if that's like an intended change or some sort of bug. But there's been a few instances now where definitely only one Hellhound spawns. So I'm not sure what's going on with that. Well, after a pretty long trip out Calvarion, we got interrupted. I'm going to try and go back and do some more. Hopefully it's not a sign that I'm going to continue to get interrupted constantly. So we'll see what happens. But good timing on that because it was time for me to do a birdhouse run on this account anyways. And then we'll head back to Varlamore to continue chiseling bones to build up this stack of blessed bone shards. We're up to 137k now. And I do think I have like another 200k or so sitting in the bank. Quite a bit of blessed bone shards accumulated. I think I just butchered that word. Accumulated over multiple grinds, I suppose. I think mostly from Varlamore thieving. Heading back to the lair now. Hopefully my world didn't get taken. I was only gone for a couple of seconds there, maybe a minute's top. We're good. And I did manage to one-click teleport away from that PKer, so nothing too crazy happened. Didn't get caught out by the TB or anything. Just managed to hit the TP away from another PKer. Again, that was another pretty lengthy trip, so I can't complain too much about it. Checking in with 416 Hero here, we're now up to 182,000 bone shards in our inventory, and our bone stack is below 17,000 now. Another day, and of course we start out with a birdhouse run. Got a nice god egg out of that. I still have not opened a single one of those. One day we will, but I'm not sure when. And that's for both accounts. I have not opened any of these god eggs for a chance at the evil chicken outfit. You can see in my inventory here, we have another 14,000 dragon bones or so to get through, and we're up to 343k blessed bone shards. So we're going to get back to that as soon as we're done with this birdhouse, and we're also going to look to do a little bit more Calvarion. Hopefully, there's not too many PKers or bots But before we gear up for Calvarion, I guess I should do the usual stuff that I do every time I log in. Pick this white berry bush here at the RD bush patch. We're going to rack up the white berries. It's going to be good for super defenses. Do our farming contract, maybe farm a little bit of snape grass, and of course another birdhouse run. Obviously, these are things that I don't have an immediate use for, but it's just really satisfying to always do a contract and always be building up the bank, whether that's seeds, herbs, or whatever else. So here we go, heading back to Calvarion. This is our collection log right here, 3,852 Calvarion KC with 38 Vedion. First KC of the session, some Chaos Runes and Anglerfish. Might as well overheal now. Man, only a few minutes into the session and we get interrupted by a PK already. 15-20 minutes later, or however long, I know I didn't instantly go back, but unfortunately got ran in by the same PKer again. I TP'd out right away though before the teleblock could actually be applied on me. I know you can see it in the game chat right there, but like I did manage to TP out as he cast the teleblock on me. It's unfortunate that I'm actually seeing the same person. It's usually bad news when that happens. It just means they're constantly hopping worlds, and perhaps they've even taken note of like what world I'm on, and they're like actively looking for me now. So yeah, a bit unfortunate. We'll see what happens. I think if I get caught out by the same person again, I'm just gonna have to take a break. One extra note about it is I actually hit the TP as I finished Calvarion, but I don't think that actually counted for a KC because I didn't see what the loot was, and I don't think it showed in the game chat that it counted as a KC either. So it would have been pretty tragic if I saw the Voidwaker piece drop on the floor as I hit the TP, but I don't think that was actually a confirmed KC. So I don't know, that's better, I guess. Like, we'll never know what the roll was because we didn't get the roll. Just had to TP out, but not because of a PKer. If we look in our looting bag, we absolutely stuffed it with a whole lot of super restores. To be honest, I probably should have left some of these just despawn. Oh, and don't mind the big bones I accidentally put in there. Oh my god, you couldn't make this up. I have my cat sitting like on the floor next to me, and I glanced over at her, and that's when a PKer comes in. Are you kidding me? The timing of that. I think we should be good here though. Not sure what spec weapon this guy has. He hasn't quite shown it yet. I may... Oh, I thought I gapped him for a second there, but... Is that a dragon dagger? A dragon dagger. Surely he gives up at some point, right? Might have gapped him? No? Okay, he's like max ranging it feels like. A 20 through prey? Are you kidding me? Really catching every snare, huh? No fakies with this guy. Wow. That's actually crazy. I could have had like 6 more Calvarion KC by now. And he finally gave up. We just reached 3,900 Calvarion KC, meaning since we started this grind again, over 100 KC already. Well, we just got another Skull of Vedion. The looting bag's full, so let's get out of here and take a look at the collection log. That is our 6th one. The Skull of Vedion is a 1 in 618 at Calvarion. I do believe out of the 6, 1 of them was from Vedion, but 5 of them from Calvarion. Oh my god, we just got a longbow. And there's a PK. I was so zoomed in, I didn't even see. You know what? I'm just going to take my time here. He didn't even get a full TB off, I guess. I don't know. That was only 2.5 minutes. How come a PKer always comes in when something happens? Last time I was looking at my cat. This time I get distracted by a longbow. And he's gone. I guess it's a bit later in the day now, so I'm seeing more foot traffic around here, whether it's PKers or just other people looking to do Calvarion. Man, I don't know what it is with this boss, but this place makes me very sleepy. Like, I'm sitting here and I'm just farming the boss and yawning. Not sure what it is. Earlier, I had a clanmate say that I was surely gonna get the Void Waker Blade before 4000 KC, and that was when I was around 3900 KC. But a little while later now, we're working on 3974, so time is kind of running out. Will we be able to snag it in the next 26, 27 KC? 6 Sandfew serums from KC 3999. A little bit earlier, we actually got 60 Renar Wheats, actually the previous KC, and that's always good to see. But obviously, what I really want at this point is the Void Waker Blade. Now, next KC, or the one we're working on right now, is obviously 4000. Can we get it on this KC? After this, I'm going to take a little bit of a break from Calvarion, and I'm going to be potting some Trio Tobs, or just Theater of Blood in general. I'm not too sure how many people are going to be there, but maybe we'll see some purples over there as well as we work towards the 2000 KC cape. But first, let's see what we're getting here. Moment of truth. Some death runes and blighted super restores. Okay, let's get out of here for now, and hopefully we see some purples at top. And a quick check-in with 416 Hero. We have about 10,000 Dragon Bones to go, and we're well over 500,000 in Bone Shards now. So we're racking it up, and actually the crafting EXP is fairly, maybe not significant, but it is noticeable. In just today alone, we've gained 28k crafting EXP. First raid of the session. Can we start out with the purple? The answer is no. Any purple? Never purple. Dude, where are the purples? Well, that was the top session, and unfortunately, no purples. Well, we went back to Calvarion 9 KC later, a Dragon 2-hand. That is on the unique drop table, same drop rate as the Dragon Pickaxe, I believe. That was our 16th Dragon 2-hand. Wow, we have 2 times the amount of Dragon 2-hands than pickaxes. Although I want to say I've definitely picked up a few from Calify Queen. So good news, we're racking up the KC and we're closing in on 4,100 KC, and it's been relatively peaceful. But bad news, we're racking up the KC, and that just means we don't have the blade yet. Looking at the unique drop table here, I just made the realization. Obviously, it's already a bit cursed on the Void Waker Blade alone, being, I think at this point I actually am 4.5 times dry, give or take. But I just realized I'm also dry on pretty much every unique that's here. For example, the Dragon Pickaxe is a 1 in 358, I believe, and I only, quote unquote, only have 8 of those Dragon Pickaxes. But, I mean, I have 4,127 KC. I should definitely have a few more of those. Same thing applies to the other drops, such as the Dragon 2-hand. I think I should deserve more too. Ring of the Gods, and I think the closest thing is that we are pretty close to rate with the Skull of Edion. Again, none of this really matters. After all, we're just here for the Void Waker Blade. But come on. On the flip side, we do have 2 pets here, so I guess that's where all the good RNG went. Another unique, another Skull of Edion, unfortunately. This is a completely different session now. We're up to KC 4,155, and that's our 7th skull, 6 here at Calvarion specifically. On to the next KC, and I'm just noticing we passed the 4,200 KC milestone. And so it begins. I'm starting to zone out so hard at Calvarion. My reaction time is just slow. And unfortunately, it's just the same PKers, you know. Not many people are actually out here in the wilderness. It's the same people always trying to PK you. We've seen this guy before, and I think we're... Wow, how did he cast that? That looks so far away. Can I log out now? I don't know. I think I might be able to log out. There we go. It's time for a birdhouse run, but we've surpassed 1 million bone shards in the inventory. And this guy I've been seeing at the altar as I chisel my bones. Standing here at Top Bank, I just got done with a rating session, and it was pretty interesting to say the least. Oh my god, no way. My... Just the legs. Oh, it's a clock though. And another update here at Varlamore, the bone shards. We have less than 1,000 dragon bones to go now. I think I'll be going through the frost dragon bones next. We have about 4,300 or so of those. We're continuing to rack up the KC here at Calvarion, and a little note I suppose, but back around 4,100 KC, give or take a couple, we were actually at the 4.5x mark. And the only other item that I was at 4.5x rate for was the Bandos hilt. But what's even more unfortunate is there's actually another drop in which we were even drier than that. We went about 5.5 times dry for the Eternal Crystal at Cerberus for the Eternal Boots. KC 4,289 seems a little arbitrary, but I believe that actually marks exactly 500 KC since we've come back to this grind. Alright, as the KC creeps up, I'm just gonna say this now. There is absolutely no chance, no way, we're gonna go 5 times dry. That being 4,560. That is not happening. So again, I will say this time around at Calvarion, it's been a lot more peaceful and less traffic than all the prior times I've tried to come out here and farm up some Calvarion. But there are some PKers. I'm just doing a much better job this time around TPing out. Well, we've made it to KC 4,400. Not much else to say, unfortunately. We haven't even seen a drop in a while, I guess. That's something of note. Like a unique. We get some limpwort roots on the KC after. Oh my god, we just got a champion scroll. And obviously that is not our first one. That is going to be our second one directly from Calvarion, but in general at this place, with the Hellhounds included, that is our 5th one. Well, I just teleported shortly after the champion scroll because a PKer dropped in, and I do use the term PKer very loosely because it was a guy in salad robes with a water stick at level 105. Actually couldn't even attack me, even if they wanted to. Well, it's felt like a long time since we saw a item. We got a dragon 2-hand. Let's take a look at the collection log here. That was KC 4,496 and our 17th dragon 2-hand. I believe either the 11th or 12th one here, specifically at Calvarion. Shortly after that dragon 2-hand sword, we're now working on KC 4,500, so checking in another 100 KC later. Again, when we get to 4,560, or if, that's when we reach 5 times the drop rate for the Voidwaker blade. For this KC, we're going to be getting 200 gold ore, replenishing our stack that we burned up in order to get 99 smithing. Checking in with 416 Hero, we pretty much went through all the relevant bone shards. Oh my god, this PKer was here earlier. He comes back not even 5 minutes later. You know, I'm busy. Yeah, you guys can't even see this right now. Let me switch the POV over. I was busy recording this clip and that's why I got caught out by the teleport block. Oh, I'm doubling back. That's not good. I could have gapped him right there, I think. Anyways, as I was saying, on 416 Hero, I pretty much went through... Can I log out? I pretty much went through... Alright, we were able to escape that PK really quickly. I managed to go through most of the relevant bone shards. I started working on these wormling bones. I had about 1,000 of them. But then, I don't know, I think they aren't very worth it. So I'm just going to go ahead and hold on to those. I'm not going to convert those. We're going to be getting more dragon bones. We've been collecting a lot from Calvarion, actually. So in the meantime, as I'm waiting for more bones to come in, I'm going to be doing some star mining to get our mining levels up. We did pick up a level recently that I missed out on recording. We jumped from 80 to 81. As I said before, this time around at Calvarion, it's been a lot more quiet, and I think it's because they made a change in which you are required to have at least the hard wilderness diary in order to even enter the Calvarion cave. So I think that's why this session so far has been a lot better than all the previous ones. Back then, our KCs, we would be averaging like mid-30s, and sometimes depending on how bad it got, sometimes even in the 20-ish KCs an hour. It was really bad, but right now we're averaging easily over 40 plus, which is pretty good. But it's always a bad sign when I see the same PKer multiple times in a matter of minutes. I have a feeling that guy's gonna come back. Hopefully he doesn't, and he just goes somewhere else or decides to do something else, I don't know. But usually when I see a guy more than once, within a couple of minutes, they start camping me. Well, speaking of the dragon bones, 60 more dragon bones. Don't mind if I do. Unfortunately, just had to hit the TP. At least it was a different PK, but you can see I barely even got started on another trip. No, not another dragon two-hand. 4,537 KC. Maybe this is a sign that the RNG, the drops are about to pour in, right? Maybe? Okay, we can scroll up a little bit. 3 KC later, a dragon pickaxe. That is our 9th dragon pickaxe. Remember when I said we wouldn't go 5 times dry? Well, moment of truth. This is KC 4,560. Exactly the number in which we would hit 5 times the drop rate of 1 in 912. Here we go. 200 gold ore and a whole bunch of super combats. Oh no. Another Skull of Vedion? I think this is our 7th one. That is unfortunate. Let me check the collection log after this, Casey. Alright, here we go. Let's scroll down to the bottom, look at the collection log. That is our 8th Skull of Vedion, 1 being at the multi-boss, and then 7 right here at Calvarion. We've just been cruising along here at Calvarion, so much so that I overlooked us reaching the 4,600 KC milestone. We're actually working on 603 now. Unfortunately, I got caught out by PK, and this guy's name seems to ring a bell. Seems like it's the same guy. From which actually, there's actually been a big gap between the last couple of recordings and the most recent ones, because I actually went and did a clan event recently, and it's honestly unfortunate that we're just seeing the same people PKing over and over again. This guy seems to check the worlds I'm on quite a bit, I guess. Took a little bit for the last couple of KCs as we got interrupted by several PKers, but nonetheless, we're gonna make it to KC 4,700. What are we gonna get here? Some dark crabs. Not even gonna pick that up. Oh my god, I chanced them 10 times. Okay, so this morning, all these PK encounters, some that I've shown and some of them that I haven't, just because I've been able to TP out right away. This morning, I've been seeing PKers about like 4 or 5 times, and one guy in particular, the same guy we saw last week, he came back, right? And I decided, you know what? That one time I wasn't paying attention and he caught me with a TB, I realized he was kind of newbie. So I decided to bring a MSB and a Dragon Dagger to try and ante him. And you could see right there, I chanced that guy 10 times. If I was on the standard spellbook and I could teleblock him, I probably would have got him right there. But I don't have any LMS points to spend on those teleport sacks, and I wasn't going to bring the runes in, so that's unfortunate. If I'm not mistaken, I just got done with 4,789 KC. Well, I can't be mistaken on that, but the part I'm unsure of is that might just be 1,000 KC since we've come back to Calvarion. And I think we've got a handful of Vedion skulls, or Skull of Vedion. I think maybe a Dragon Pickaxe, and a couple of Dragon Two Hands, but honestly, no Ring of the Gods. Oh, and we actually even got our hands on another Skeleton Champion Scroll. I think all in all, the RNG is pretty bad. Well, obviously for the Void Waker Blade, but everything except the Vedion Skull, I think we're very, very dry on. Every time I hit the record button, I really wish there was something more interesting to say or something, but we just reached 4,800 KC and Mortmire Fungus. Okay. What is going on? I just got another champion scroll, this time from a Hellhound. It just keeps going. That is... How many champion scrolls is that? Like 7? We got 4 from Hellhounds, and we got 2 from Calvarion itself, so that is 6 total champion scrolls from this boss. Checking in with another 100 KC. I'm actually out of Divine Super Combats right now. Typically on every trip I bring 2 4 doses, and that's about 40 minutes. So it's a pretty good testament that I actually go through it without being interrupted for a full 40 minutes. Like I said before, this time around, these last few weeks of doing Calvarion have just been much better than before. I don't know what it is, but I'm not complaining, and I'm not going to ask too many questions. Well, it's a drop At least dragon pickaxe only worth 460k these days at KC 4943, and I do believe that is our 11th dragon pickaxe. Let's go ahead and open up the collection log mid-fight here. Yep, 10 pickaxes. KC 4993, a ring of the gods. Nice little loot beam, only worth 1 mil these days though. Everything is down. And that ring of the gods is our 8th one. It appears that, if I'm not mistaken, that is, on our trip back to Calvarion here, our return, we've pulled everything except the Voidwaker Blade once again. We've had our hands on the Dragon 2-hand, definitely a few skulls, even got the pet roll earlier today this very session, and now the Dragon Pickaxe as well. Well, we are very, very deep in it now. I mean, we have been, but we're reaching the 5,000 KC milestone with this KC right here. As soon as we get rid of these hounds and do another 41 damage. We got the Ring of the Gods still in our inventory. We have plenty of those, obviously, so not worried about losing that. And for our 5,000th KC, we get an Ancient Staff. I'm just going to take a look, or take a picture of this collection log for future reference. And I guess, as I've always said, there's only one thing to do, and that's to keep getting more KC. And actually, with that 5,000 KC, we're not exactly there, but we're right around 5.5x, which I've stated before, the only other notable grind that I've gone this dry on was for the Eternal Crystal at the Cerberus boss for the Eternal Boots. So here I am once again at around that 5.5x mark. Will we make it all the way to 6x? Who knows? The unfortunate thing about this though is that even if we were to get the Voidwaker Blade right now on this KC, for example, we're not even done. We gotta move on to RDO and Spindle for the other two pieces. The Voidwaker Blade by itself is completely useless. What is going on? Another champion scroll. Another one. That is the third one directly from Calvarion. As an Ironman or a collection logger, you're often very aware of the drop rate for the item you're grinding for. And especially after you hit the rate and go over it, you're hyper aware, or at the very least you start plugging in all the numbers into calculators just to figure out where you lie in the probability of things. Well, working on KC 50/50 right now, you know what they say. At the end of the day, despite all the numbers that you put into the calculator, you either get the drop or you don't. Let's see what we're gonna get here at KC 50/50. So I've been checking in with you guys every 100 KC or whenever there's a notable drop, but you know what? I don't know. At this point, maybe we gotta switch things up, you know? Maybe we'll get the drop right here. Okay, all tons of restores. Well, I was looking at the KC and I was like, I'm almost due for another drop since that Ring of the Gods, but another Dragon 2-hand. Well, it's going to be about another 103 KC until we can expect the next drop, I think. We are currently working on KC 5150, but the way this grind has gone on, we've pretty much already been put in a 5150. For those unaware, do look up what a 5150 code is. And we get a rune pickaxe. Alright, we have a bigger time jump now. For one thing, we haven't pulled any interesting drops in the last couple of 100 KCs, I think. And also, you know, I was just hoping that next time I hit the record button, I would get the Void Waker Blade. But here we are at 5,300 KC. We're actually getting closer and closer to 6x the rate. And we get more super restores. No, not like this. Another champion scroll. That is the fourth one directly from Calvarion. Completely different day now. Start off a new session, 6kc in. I did have to deal with some PKs already, but we had our hands on a dragon pickaxe. That is going to be our 11th one. Here I am checking in with another update for you guys. We're working on KC 5472, which is significant because that means we're hitting 6 times the drop rate of 1 in 912. Which also means we are now in the 0.02 or 0.25 percentile, meaning that we are unluckier than 99.75% of people doing Calvarion. So being this dry on a grind is pretty tragic in itself, but there's a few things I want to point out that just make this so much worse. First things first, we can expect to get a drop here every 103 KC or so. Right now we have, I believe, 11 dragon pickaxes. Yes, we do. But really, with the KC we have, we're due for like 15 or 16 of them, somewhere around there, that ballpark. So not only are we dry for the Void Waker Blade specifically, but we actually haven't even had enough rolls on the drop table itself, getting Dragon Pickaxes, Dragon Two Hands, the Skull of Vedion, and obviously the Blade. The only thing we are lucky on here is the pets, because the pet, off the top of my head, is like a 1 in 2,700 or 800 or something. And we have 3 pet rolls in the KC we do have now, 5,568. Secondly, even when we do get the Void Waker Blade, the item itself is completely useless. We have to go on over to Ardio and Spindle to get the other 2 pieces in order to actually have the Void Waker in its usable form. So not only are we going, like, statistically, how do I describe it? Like at this point, it's like a statistic. I don't know how to describe it, but not only are we going an insane level of dry, but the moment that we do get quote-unquote rewarded with the drop, we're pretty much in the same position where we were before, in which whether we have the item or not, honestly, it doesn't really make a difference, if that makes sense. Well, it took like another 300 KC to just hit the drop table again, but there goes another Ring of the Gods. That is our 9th one. Not sure how many KCs later, we ran into some PKers and whatnot, fought back. Actually almost killed a couple of them, you'll see in some of the clips, but we get another dragon pickaxe here at KC 5675. Let me try open up the collection log here. That is our 12th one. All right, that is going to have to do it for us. Unfortunately, you can see at the tail end of the grind, our KC was racking up. We ended up being at around roughly 6.4x. I'm going to show off the collection log in just a second here. Well, I was star mining here on 416 Hero, but evidently this star just blew up and disappeared. So, yeah, I'm just checking in with 416 Hero because it's been a while since I checked in with this account. And initially we were working on cutting up all the bone shards and then, you know, getting ready to train 99 prayer, or close to it at least. But then a clan event came up and I put my account to start star mining just to do something, you know, just to progress the account while I wasn't really actively playing on here. And as such, between the clan event and doing all that Calvarion, I think we jumped from 80 mining to 88 mining. I didn't really record much of this because my focus was just elsewhere, and then I got really caught up in the Calvarion grind, as you saw, but unfortunately nothing to show for there. But we are now 88 mining and relatively close to 89 actually. And checking back in with wait for it here, as I mentioned, we're 6.4x roughly at Calvarion for the Void Waker Blade. Unfortunately, the KC right now is 5,798, which is just absolutely crazy, to say the least. We picked up a few more Dragon Pickaxes, a couple more Dragon Two Hands, I think maybe another Ring of the Gods or so. But yeah, there's the situation right now at Calvarion. Just very unfortunate. Very unlikely, very unlucky for sure, more than unlucky to be honest, but it is what it is. And unfortunately, I do have to tap out of the grind right now. I went really hard on this because I was just coping so hard that the Void Waker Blade would drop eventually, and then I could call this a video. But my patience, the mental for this grind, I'm going to need another break. And maybe sometime in the future we'll return to this once again, but yeah, that's going to have to do it for now. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another GIM video. Currently, we're just standing around on wait for it, and to be honest, you guys wouldn't know it because we've been scheduling these GIM videos out, but for the last couple of weeks, I haven't been doing a whole lot except raiding, which, as you know or may not know on this account, there's not too much point to it. If we just briefly take a look at our raid collection logs here, Chambers, we're missing everything but the pet and KC capes for challenge mode, and we've actually been racking up the KC. We're up to 1345 challenge modes now. Some of them solos, but a lot of them teams lately actually, which is a huge change of pace for me. But there was a clan event, and that's why I've been raiding so much. It was like a raid clan event type thing. And let's take a look at Theater of Blood. For this one, the 2K cape, normals, and hard mode alike count, and we've also been racking up the KC in that regard. We're almost up to 1,100 normals now. And then even some TOA, believe it or not, we've been doing a lot of TOA as well, and we're also missing the pet in this collection log as well as the KC capes. There are some transmogs here, but I think I'll go after those when I actually have the pet on this account. Unfortunately, I just don't. And a subplot or side plot is that we also need another set of Missouri for our other account. In the collection log here, you can see I have 2 Missouri bodies and 3 Missouri chaps, but unfortunately I had dropped those over for like bond money and split money and whatnot previously before 416 Hero even existed. Now, what have we been doing on this account 416 Hero? Well, long time ago, we established that we wanted to max this account. If you didn't know, this is a 50 defense account. We purposely restricted that to give us an added PVM challenge, and we've since accomplished most of the things we wanted, namely the Inferno and the Coliseum. You'll see that we've been skilling a ton. We have a couple of 99s already, and our most recent thing that we've been doing is mining. I think I last checked in at like 80 mining, to be honest, maybe a couple of levels after that. And to be honest, I've been a bit lazy and I haven't done too much else. Like I said, I've been raiding and then I've been doing star mining on this account, and a bit of a jump here, but we've made it all the way to 90 mining. If we take a look in here, take a look at the rocks, that's actually pretty significant as we're just 2 levels removed from mining amethyst, which as an Ironman, it's always good to mine some amethyst for arrows or blowpipe darts. I wouldn't quite call it a hiatus, but I've just been simply really lazy, right? Just raiding and doing star mining. And before that, we were actually doing prayer training. Well, setting up for prayer anyways. We're still 63 prayer, which is also another purposely restricted stat alongside defense and our 82 attack. Like I said, we will be moving on from this in the future after I accomplish a couple more things. Because, you know, once I level them up, I can't go back. So I got to make sure I knock out everything I want to do beforehand. But we have close to 99 prayer banked now, and I meant to go and actually train it. I just haven't got around to doing that. I'll be doing that shortly though. But for this video, like I said, about the 5th time now or something, I've been doing a whole lot of raiding. So there's a fair few bit of highlights that I'm going to roll out right now. Okay. Oh my god, it's mine. Yeah. It's my purple. What are we getting? What are we getting? Third shadow, maybe? Okay, Osmumptum's Fang. Actually, how much is this worth? 19.8 mil. Back 3 back. The back 3 back. Hey, purple. Eee. Yes. A purple. No way. The guy that died gets the purple. Ooh, another purple. Oh my god. Okay, finally a purple. Oh, it updates right away. What are we getting? A Vernic Defender Hill. Well, at least it's something, and it's more than the Justy. Well, that's all the raiding we've been doing over the last couple of weeks. The clan event in itself was actually only a couple of days, as it very quickly ended as a lot of people pulled purples, and there was just a purple point threshold that one of the teams met. I was actually on the winning team. And speaking of which, there was supposed to be a GP prize pool. I don't think I've actually collected any of that yet, so I got some questions to ask around here. Nevertheless, we're moving on, and it's finally time to start training prayer on 416 Hero. Well, before we do that, actually, there's two things I need to do. First, a birdhouse run. Now, previously, we've been keeping up with birdhouse runs religiously. Actually, is that the right term? I don't know, but we've been keeping up with birdhouses really well, pretty much doing them on cooldown. But as I started doing the raid sessions and as I was just doing shooting stars, which is just so AFK, so cozy, I started being lazy on these birdhouses. So we're currently 92 hunter and we're actually pretty close to 93. If I stay back on top of the birdhouse runs again, I should be 93 in a matter of a couple of days. So right now I'm doing a birdhouse run again. I'm going to try to start these going again. And then after this, we're going to head on over to Tears of Gothic, something I haven't done in a couple of weeks as well. We're currently 46 sailing, so we're going to be safe to do Tears of Gothics to get maybe another level or two before Tears of Gothic starts prioritizing defense levels, which we don't want that to happen just yet. Or ever, actually. Ideally, we would want it to go into other skills like runecrafting or something like that. Combat stats, yeah, we probably don't want that on Tears of Gothics. 204 tears, 4 shy of tying my previous PB, 46 sailing, all the way up to 48. We were just like 200 EXP away from 47 to be fair, but that's 2 extra sailing levels, bringing us to a total level of 2089. Now, let's start our prayer training. For our prayer training, okay, kind of rude, I'm trying to talk here. Alright, for our prayer training, previously we've discussed this and we flip-flopped back and forth what we wanted to do, whether we were going to go into the wilderness or simply come to Varlamore here and do all bone shards. I think I decided that I was going to do a balance of both, but I didn't really game plan for going 6.4 times dry at Calvarion, and that bought me a lot of time to just chisel all my bones and bless all my bones. On top of that, during our Calvarion grind, we picked up another 2,100 dragon bones. So I'm going to go through that really quickly here at Varlamore, and then, well, you can see in my inventory, I have nearly 1.8 million bone shards. Now, I did the math previously, and we need about 2.1 million or so with blessed Sunfire wines, that is, to get to 99. Obviously, we don't have that, and even going through these 2,100 dragon bones, I don't think we're going to have it, but we're going to be pretty close. And then the remaining prayer EXP we need to get to 99 will likely passively get it on our Slayer grind. And that's the main reason why we're doing prayer right now, if you didn't know. I want to get prayer up so that we can more efficiently do Slayer. And before we do Slayer, well, we're going to have to get done with all the things we still want to do as a 50 defense account, because I do plan on defensive casting Barrage Slayer. And that's when the total levels are really going to fly up. Just think about that for a second. We're 2089 total level, and we still have these combat stats restricted. So if these were already 99, we'd be well on our way, closer to 2200 than 2100 actually. While we're chiseling the remaining bones, I'm going to go ahead and start cooking some anglers here on Wait For It. We still have another 1,500, but I have 5.3k of them raw, so a lot of angler fish to go through. We're certainly not going to get through all of it, but yeah, it's good to get some more anglers, use it as pre-pot, and just honestly, we have enough for it to just be a normal hard food we use on any bossing grinds we might want to do. Another thing we should do on this account, to be honest, is go back to some trawling. We haven't done that in a while. I still have a couple of bluefins left and these marlins. Honestly, I don't have too many of them, so I find it hard for me to use, but I just need to make more of an effort to go back to doing some trawling. Honestly, it's been a long time since I did any trawling or fishing or anything that's like typical Ironman upkeep, like mining amethyst for my arrows and darts and things of that nature. I used to do a really good job of just always be doing something on this account, even if I don't really need it, right? Because even right now, I think it's in my quiver actually, but I have like 30,000 amethyst arrows, and even if we were out of that, we have 23,000 dragon arrows. We even have extra amethyst darts as our blowpipe is full, and we have tons and tons of food and things like that. But that's just a result of me previously always doing something. If I had 10 minutes or so while I was waiting on a raid team or something, I'd just go do angler fishing, or I'd do like a couple of trips of blood rune crafting. I was just very good at staying active. More recently though, I've racked up so many hours played by simply bank standing, doing nothing, especially on this account. Sometimes I just need to be logged in to host the player-owned house for the other account. Which, yes, relatively recently we did get 99 construction on the account, but I still have not filled out that POH at all, and it still relies on this maxed Grandmaster account's POH. Alright, the 2100 Dragon Bones are blessed and chiseled. I think we ended up with another 100,000 blessed bone shards or so, so we're up to 1,870,000 of them now. Now I have both the accounts parked here because on the other account, I have these Sunfire Shards, or Sunfire Splinters, and the Jugs of Wine. I gotta look this up real quick. I think it's a very careful process, step-by-step process we have to do this in, because I do think the wines are untradeable, and I know, speaking from previous experience, they're definitely not bankable even, so I think I have to make sure I do it on the proper account. I'm just bringing this account here just so I have the Jugs of Wine noted, because the Jugs of Wine are tradable, but I think once I put Sunfire Splinters into them and they're blessed, they're no longer tradable. Okay, so here we are with an inventory full of regular Jugs of Wine. We have the Sunfire Splinters. Can I use the Splinters on the jug? You need 2 Sunfire Splinters, a Jug of Wine, and a Pestle and Mortar. I did not know that. Alright, well, 1 second. Alright, let's try this again. So Sunfire Splinters on the Jug of Wine with the Pestle and Mortar. Alright, looks like it's going to use 2 Sunfire Splinters at a time for each individual wine. Now, can I speed this up? Can I, Okay, it appears so. So with the batch of Sunfire Wine, we now bless it. Turns it into a Jug of Blessed Sunfire Wine, and then let's run into the building over there. Into the building, there's this libation bowl here, and we can fill it. Do I have to only put 1 at a time? Oh, wait, I'm prayer training already. Okay, well, I didn't mean to do that exactly. But, okay, looks like you can't fill the libation bowl. You have to just have them in your inventory. So, yeah, that's a good reason why we have the second account there ready to unnote. So, I guess we have everything sorted. Let's get started on the prayer training. Now, let's remember we're 63 prayer. Let's see what we get up to. And we're also level 103 combat. And we're also level 103 combat. That was the reason why we just arbitrarily restricted 63 prayer and 82 attack. These thresholds were just high enough to get the Royal Titan prayers, which are very, very useful. And 82 attack gave us access to pretty much every weapon. I think the Osmumtum's Fang is at 82 to be exact. But we're going to be moving on. And so, with prayer first, we're definitely going to pick up some combat levels, and we're going to be no longer level 103. So each time you consume from the libation bowl, it does take away prayer. Very conveniently though, in the next building over, there's a Shrine of Ralos in which you can regenerate your prayer. You're just going to have to run back and forth between these 2 buildings and then back to the Blessed Altar whenever we need to get more Sunfire Wines. So right now each click is going to be a 600 prayer EXP drop. This is going to be very, very quick, although a lot of clicks apparently. Alternatively, I think you can let this passively do its thing. Let's see. Well, I'm out of prayer, so hold on 1 second. Okay, can you actually AFK this? Let's find out. You can, it's just much slower, just like the chiseling. But there we go, our first prayer level, nothing there. Although we do get a combat level, actually. We're now level 104. I'm definitely going to try to spam click this just to speed it up. After all, this is the payoff. Chiseling the bones and blessing them took a long time, and this is the payoff right here, where our prayer EXP and the levels are going to be absolutely flying. Well, I was under the impression that you could talk to this person and unnote your wines, but apparently they only do bones. So on this account, while I'm doing prayer training on the other, I'm going to have to TP out and manually unnote these. A little bit unfortunate. Although this account is still very relevant because we do have the Pendant of Eights. And with this statue, this TP, Rallis's Rise, I believe is the name, it puts us right next to the altar. So the other account doesn't have this. It's actually still a time save by using both accounts. Just a little bit tedious though. It's honestly a little inconvenient that I can only do 27 blessed sunfire wines at a time, meaning I have to run back and forth, trade back and forth, bank to unnote the wines and whatnot. It's not going to be quite as satisfying as I thought it would be, but the prayer EXP is still going to be pretty quick, and at least we don't have to deal with the wilderness. Well, there goes 65 prayer. I'm not going to showcase every single level, obviously, because we're going to be gaining a lot of these in pretty quick time here, but I will check in when we get those massive milestones. Okay, first little milestone here, 70 prayer. That is going to unlock piety, at least the level requirement. We actually still don't have access to piety because we haven't done King's Ransom, which is the prerequisite quest, but also we don't have 70 defense, which is actually a requirement as well. Same thing when we get to 74 for rigor and 77 for augury. We actually have to have a defense level requirement that we don't have just yet. But we are training up prayer now because for our future challenges, just having higher prayer is going to be nice, because if you didn't know, the amount of prayer a prayer potion or a restore potion, or super restore I should say, gives you back scales based on what your prayer level is. The higher level your prayer is, the more value you're going to get out of those potion doses. Just finished up another blessed sunfire wine inventory there, but I did TP out, make my way to the farming guild here, just have access to a bank chest, and I did trade the jugs of wine over from the other account, and that's because we're going to be switching up the strategy here just a little bit. So things being untradeable or unbankable, it's all a little bit confusing, but what we need to know is that I can very safely convert these jugs of wines into jugs of sunfire wines, and I can bank those. So I can basically do this process in a big bulk here, and then what we will have to do is actually make the trip from a bank chest to the altar back and forth. But I think just being able to do this one step in bulk is going to be nice. So what we're going to do here is I've unnoted the jugs of wine. Now let's just do spam click an inventory real quick to get sunfire wines. And there we go, one full inventory. Now let's just confirm that this works. But my bank is full, so let me just replace or release a placeholder, Snapdragon potions, whatever. So we have jugs of sunfire wine in our inventory, and we can indeed put those away. So yeah, let's just get through. I'm not too sure how many of these we need, but we'll get definitely a couple of thousand first. And to answer my own question, each wine respectively, blessed sunfire wine that is going to be about 400 bone shards. So let's go ahead and do the math real quick. We have 1.8 million blessed bone shards, and we divide that by 400. That's going to be 4,500 of these wines that we're going to need to make. Obviously, we have over 20,000 jugs of wine right now, so we have more than enough. So this is going to be a little bit more convenient, but the bad news is we're once again delaying the EXP drops. Delayed gratification, if you will. We're currently sitting at 70 prayer, and we're going to have to go through 4,500 of these wines before we can actually see any more EXP drops right now. Right now, we're just going through the processing stage. Well, I was just mindlessly clicking back at the libation bowl here. We hit 74 prayer, a total level of 2,100 total level. And 74 is when we get rigor, Well, we actually haven't got the prayer scroll on this account just yet, although I do have a whole bunch of dupes sitting on the other account's bank. But maybe we'll do some chambers on this account to earn it ourselves. I don't know. Just yapping here, something to think about for content in the future. But yeah, let's keep going with the prayer. It's not something you always think about, but prayer level actually does give you some armor or gear unlock. So at 75, I guess we can now equip an Elysian Spirit Shield. Not that we have one, but that's something to keep in mind. And we just hit level 77 prayer, which means augury. As far as prayer unlocks go, this is the last one at level 77. Curious to see if they're ever going to introduce another prayer. I guess there is one more slot conveniently down here. And there is 87 prayer. Nothing that gets unlocked directly on that level, but it does mark the 25% of the way to 99. We're averaging about 1 million EXP an hour, including the fact that, we're stepping away to do our birdhouse run. So honestly, not too bad. Level 90 prayer now, and like I said, we're not going to be getting all the way to 99, but I think we'll be like 97, 98 maybe. Quick step away from prayer to do a birdhouse run. We're actually approaching 93 hunter in, I don't know, 5 to 6 more birdhouse runs. So maybe later tonight or the next day. And we're now under 1 million blessed bone shards remaining. And let's check our wine stash real quick. We have another 2.5k jugs of Sunfire wine to get through. Obligatory check-in at the halfway mark, level 92 prayer. Over 5 mil EXP gain today, getting us to 95 prayer. And as far as our bone shards go, we're less than 500,000 remaining. Making good progress here, and we'll be done maybe in a couple of days. Another start to the day, another birdhouse run. And as I touched on before in the video, we keep these up again and we're going to be 93 hunter in no time. Well, today's the day with this birdhouse right here, level 93 hunter. Let's see if we unlock anything. The ability to catch dragon implings barehanded. That's pretty nice. I don't typically catch implings for anything, but sometimes if I do come across them just, teleporting to a certain location, just happen to see them, it is nice to just catch one. Especially like the dragon tier or even a lucky impling. Those are the ones that are worth catching. But with the birdhouse run out the way, it's back to prayer training, and we should be finishing this grind up today. We got 441,000 blessed bone shards remaining. 600 EXP drop a piece because we are using blessed Sunfire wines. Currently level 95 with another 750k EXP to go till 96. If I had to guess, we're probably going to be in the late level 97s, maybe early level 98s when we run out of these bone shards. That is level 96 prayer with 314,000 blessed bone shards to go, and that's a level 108 combat. Remember when we first started at level 63 prayer, we were at level 103 combat, so we've gained 5 combat levels since then. Maybe we'll pick up 1 or 2 more, I'm not too sure. A little while later, but we pick up another level 97 with 146k blessed bone shards to go. Honestly, I'm not too sure if we're gonna get 98. But it's another 1.1 million EXP to go. And without a doubt now, we're going to be finally finishing this up. I say finally, prayer is an extremely fast skill, but I didn't necessarily expect this to be like a multi-day thing just to get through all the bone shards. But I guess it is 63 to 97 or 98 prayer, so that's a lot of EXP to say the least. We're now under 100,000 blessed bone shards to go, so we can actually see the exact number, 97,680. And another inventory of the Sunfire wines that we're going to bless. We have less than 300 of those too. I think that should be enough, and we are currently 819k EXP away from 98. We're more than likely not going to reach that, but I'm just going to be glad that we're finally done with the prayer for now. And we'll be picking up the rest of the EXP to 99 by other means, Slayer, and maybe eventually we'll finally do Perilous Moons quest and do some mining for the bone shards that way. Alright, I just realized I wasted a couple of these blessed Sunfire wines here because I only needed like 2 of them and I ran out of all my bone shards. That's right, we are now completely out of bone shards. We're finally done, and our stopping point here is 97 prayer with 233,000 EXP to go until 98. I don't believe I can bank these jugs of Blessed Sunfire wine, so that might be a waste, unfortunately. All right, let's just double check back at the bank here. Yep. Unfortunately, I'm just going to have to drop these. I don't have any other bones to chisel down, and even if I did, these things are permanently in my inventory since I can't get rid of them anywhere. So yeah, that's just going to go to the floor. Each wine was 2 Sunfire Splinters, so I suppose it's not too big of a loss. That's only 50 splinters that we can get back very easily. Well, that's going to have to do it for now. Obviously, we have things planned ahead that we want to be doing on both accounts, but amidst the prayer grind, I actually just parked myself here on this account to do some angler fishing. Oh, gotta move spots. Always good to just do something and keep our supplies stocked up. We do always go through a bunch of anglerfish, even as a pre-pot for raiding and just as general food as well. This was a bit of a 2-part thing. Obviously, we went through a lot of raiding and got a few purples, saw a few purples, and then we finally got around to the prayer grind that feels like I was working towards for weeks and weeks, but just never got around to it, whether that was just having to stock up on the blessed bone shards or just getting sidetracked doing other things. But we finally did it. This is 416 Hero, a game account with combat stat restrictions I created to give myself an added challenge in order to achieve the Inferno Cape as well as the Dizano's Quiver. Well, we accomplished those things a long time ago, and let's just briefly go over what the stat restrictions were. They were 82 attack, which is actually the highest attack level requirement you need to equip pretty much any weapon in the game. 82 being exactly the Osmumtum's Fang. So actually not too crazy of a restriction, but we did opt against going for 99 just to keep our combat level lower. 50 defense was the main focal point, main idea that we centered around this account, and we're still 50 defense to this day, although we'll be moving on from that in the future. And then we also kept our prayer at 63. Yes, it is now 97 as we worked on that recently, but we were 63 prayer in order to gain access to the Dead Eye prayer as well as the Mystic Vigor prayer. After achieving the Infernal Cape and the Quiver, I didn't really know what to do on this account, but relatively recently I decided I want to go for max so that I have 2 maxed accounts in one GIM group. For whatever reason, I don't know. But that was a goal I set out to do, and we've since gained over 200 total levels on this account. But before we move on from 50 defense, there are a few more achievements and milestones I want to go after. Today, we're going to be working on one of those, that being the Tombs of a Maskit TOA 500 Fang Kit. There are a few things we have to get done first though before we can even start sending attempts. For one thing, I still don't have the actual raid unlocked. There are going to be 2 quests that we need to do. The first one being Contact, which is actually a prerequisite to the Grandmaster quest that directly unlocks the Tombs of a Maskit raid, and that being Beneath Cursed Sands. We already have all the requirements for Contact. Let's just go ahead and get started on that. Let's begin Contact by traveling to Sophanum to start the quest. Alright, and talking to the High Priest here in Sophanum, we are now officially underway. You know, it's kind of weird. Some quests, they actually officially ask you if you want to start the quest. Other quests, they just begin when you start the dialogue. I don't know what it is. Maybe the quests were made by different JMods or something. But yeah, I don't think Contact is going to take too long, but Beneath Cursed Sands is the Grandmaster quest, so we'll mostly be spending our time on that one. We're at the part where we have to run through this maze, and there are these Scarab Mages. These things are only level 93, but I gotta remember I'm on the 50 defense account, and I'm not exactly wearing any armor. These things actually kind of hurt. I only brought a couple of pieces of these tuna potatoes, so hopefully I can get through this. And I do believe there is an actual combat section later on, so we might have to re-gear for that. Or actually, I think it's down here. I do have the blowpipe and quiver with me. Hopefully that's enough. I don't know. Have I underestimated this quest? We'll find out. Okay, my memory of this quest, well, I don't have too much of a memory of it, evidently, but we do have to TP out to talk to Osman, who is still in Al-Kharid at this point. So it works out for me. I can then bring some more food and be a little bit more prepared. Alright, we've spoke to Osman. We've since geared up with a bit more food in our inventory, and there's just absolutely no way we have to run through this maze again. Well, it is what it is. Alright, here we go. We gotta fight this giant scarab. Level 191, I believe. Yep. And I actually don't remember anything about this fight. Like, can I... Is prey range working? Prey melee if you are meleeing it. Range if you are attacking it from a distance. Okay, well, we're attacking from a distance, and we're doing, like, no damage. Oh, there we go. A 20. Okay. A 14. So we're very, very inaccurate, but when we do hit, it's a pretty decent number, so... Never mind, we hit a 3. Well, it looks like we didn't need all that food after all, but okay, we got ourselves the Karis. Can't pick that up just yet. We gotta talk to Osman. I think this is the part where he, like, betrays us or something, right? Like... Okay, yeah, he just Houdini's out of the cavern. Report back to the High Priest in Sophanum. Now, can I actually just run out of here? I think it's actually quicker if I run out of here rather than TP back. Okay, I didn't exactly know my way back. In fact, I had to panic TP out. I almost planked. There was a bunch of other scarabs down there, so I guess we'll just make the long road back. Alright, just a couple of minutes later, we have completed contact onto Beneath Cursed Sands now. Like I said, that one's going to take a little bit longer. But for this quest, we get a quest point, 7,000 thieving EXP. Gee, I could have used that before I hit 99 thieving. The Karis, and after Beneath Cursed Sands, we're going to turn that into the Karis Partisan, which is very, very useful. A combat lamp. Oh, and actually, one of the biggest things, most underrated, is that we now have an access to a bank, and we briefly saw this while we were working on the quest, actually. Let's check it out real quick. And here we go. There's the bank. Probably one of the least active bank locations in the game, in my opinion. Running through the desert here, we've started Beneath Cursed Sands, and there's going to be multiple fights, not just one in this fight, including one final boss fight that's actually pretty interesting. We'll get to it, but first we got to get through some dialogue, as most quests do, and there's actually a little bit of puzzle solving in this quest too, I believe. Not that we're exactly going to be doing that thanks to the quest helper. Pretty early on into the quest, we're running up to the pyramid where the raid actually is already, although I don't think we're able to get in just yet. Alright, first fight here, and I probably should have read how to actually fight this guy. Do not use any overhead protection prayers. Okay, sounds good. Yeah, the first thing I did was turn on my protection prayer, and I lost like half my health, so... Other than that, this should be fairly simple. I mean, we definitely are over-leveled for this quest. I mean, 99 strength, taking a fair bit of damage though. While we do have some actual PVM armor on, we're still wearing our lederhosen hat and our pyromancer boots in the name of fashion. Good thing we brought along some sharks, took heavy damage there. Alright, all the previous encounters were just, you know, whatever, pretty easy. This one is slightly difficult, but this is also not the final boss, actually. We are going to be ranging it, and actually, I don't know what to pray. I just know I need to keep my distance. Protect from magic, okay. But yeah, the most important thing is to keep my distance. And then we have to pretty much destroy anything that shows up, like a rift. So let's keep an eye out on that. There we go, there's one. We gotta get rid of that ASAP. There we go. Let's go ahead and use our blowpipe spec here. Now, I didn't bring a range pot or anything, so that was kind of a mistake. At least we do have a prayer potion, though. And stamina. We might need to dip into that because we're just constantly running around the room. Oh, that's not good. Shadow, we gotta get rid of that. Feels like you should be able to one-shot those, but There we go. About halfway through the fight now. As far as I remember, these are the only mechanics. Let's try to get rid of the swarm quicker there. Much better. Definitely should have brought a range potion. Less than 100 health to go now. I remember this being a lot harder than what it is. It's actually not too bad. And there we go. Alright, we are about to do the final boss fight for the Beneath Cursed Sands quest. Now, this final boss is actually pretty punishing, so we gotta stay on our toes. For the most part, we're gonna be protecting melee, I think, and then we have to just pay attention and rely on movement to avoid most of the damage. I just realized I forgot to bring a super combat, so that doesn't help. I don't know why I keep forgetting to bring, like, the combat boost potions. But we'll just see what happens. We'll TP out if we need to. And here we go. Yep, Osmond just pieces out, not going to help us with this fight. Protect melee. We're still doing decent damage, although this would be a lot better if we, Okay, we have to fight these shadows, get rid of them as soon as possible. And then dodge the lightning attack. Despite not being potted, we're still doing good damage here. Yep, really want to avoid that lightning attack. And then this is the shadow, get rid of that quickly. Let's eat all the way up. We weren't the most prepared for this, obviously, but seems to work out okay. Having the Blade of Saildor definitely helps. Alright, well, once again, just eat up just to safe up. Don't want to plank now. Couple of more hits here. I'll dodge that lightning. Almost greeted that hit, to be honest. And there we go. Not so bad after all. Despite not actually being fully geared up for this. Osmond decides to show up again after the fight. And from this point on, I think it's just going to be a whole lot of dialogue. But that is essentially Beneath Cursed Sands finished. And there we have it, Beneath Cursed Sands completed finally. That's 2 quest points, access to Tombs of a Masket, 50,000 agility EXP, in which we could have used before we hit 99 agility, but I just could not be bothered. Kair's Partisan, that's going to be very useful once we start getting the gems from the quest. And the Circlet of Water, which is actually very useful as well whenever you need to go sand mining for crafting EXP. Upon completion of the quest, if you make your way over to the pyramid to do the raid, well, you actually get a little cutscene. So after we talk to Mesa here, we are now free to do Tombs of Amasia. But I believe after the first completion of the raid, over here in this corner, currently there's nobody here, but there's going to be like 3 NPCs or something that we're going to speak to claim our bonus combat EXP. Again, we're going to be putting that into magic. For the longest time, we've been 98 magic. Short of 99 for whatever reason. I don't know, I guess I just stopped doing stuff on the account. But yeah, we're going to be putting that into magic, not quite attack and defense yet. After we do a TOA 500 for the fan kit, and actually before the 500, there's a couple of little milestones here in this raid as well, that being the 350 Missouri backpack. I don't know the official name of the kit, but I'm sure you guys know what I'm talking about. And I think at 450, there's also the Eladinis Ward kit as well. Except being that we're 50 defense, we're not even going to make use of that. But, I mean, if we're going to be doing a 500, a 450 should be no problem as well. So I've been sat here for a couple of minutes looking into the invocations and stuff. It's been a while since I set up my own invocations to run for a solo. And I was just, looking through things and wondering, should I just attempt a 500 off the rip and try to one and done it? Well, I did some more thinking and I made the realization, since I just unlocked the raid on this account, I don't have access to some pretty crucial things like a yellow Karis. If you don't know what the yellow Karis is, it is a yellow gem that you can attach to your Karis partisan, which, by the way, in speaking about that, I just realized I didn't even go pick one up yet. I have to go talk to Osman at Al-Karid. But yeah, so there's a lot of things I didn't consider clearly, and well, we're not going to be going for a TOA 500 right away. We're going to be running the raid, I don't know, maybe start at 300 or 400. Obviously, I'm still experienced in the raid, but I do lack a yellow Karis, which is actually a pretty big game changer as far as this raid goes. And the higher level you push the invocations, the more crucial that yellow Karis actually is. But without it, we're going to have to lower the invocation level just a bit, no matter how experienced we are at this raid actually. Alright, I've set up invocation levels to be at 400 and I've geared up. Now, I don't know if I'm going to come to regret this, as 400 might be too high without a yellow Karis, and obviously without piety and the Chamber's prayer scrolls. So, I don't know, there's only one way to find out, I guess, right? Let's go ahead and jump into this raid. Alright, first ever TOA on this account, and it's at a level 400 invocation. Obviously, it's a little bit different. If we were on a fresh standalone Ironman, we wouldn't have the gear that we have now. Certainly not the Osmuntum's Fang and the Light Bearer that we have equipped. So we wouldn't be running a 400, but let's just see how this goes on this account with what we have available to us. I'm actually not even sure what kind of darts I have in my blowpipe. I'm sure it's amethyst though, it usually is. Oh, dragged myself into poison there, that's not great. And no yellow Karis to cure us, so we're just gonna have to quickly finish this as soon as possible. I did bring along a brew and restore with me, just to account for these mistakes that we may be making. The thing is, once we make it to the Baba room, the actual boss fight here, we should be taking 0 damage. But that was a pretty unfortunate mistake to make this early, so I'm gonna go ahead and brew up a little bit. Actually, maybe I should not have done that, because now I don't know if I'm gonna be one-shotting the boulders. Did not think this through. I'm probably going to want to get rid of these baboons. We're not quite doing enough damage to just phase it. Stepped into a banana peel. Yeah, so let's see what happens here on the boulders. Yeah, it's not a one-shot because now I don't have the range pot ticking, so we gotta be careful. Okay, how did I not make that? Things are not going well. What? Alright, let's just pretend that didn't happen. Let's try this again. Made a few small adjustments to compensate for the fact that, we don't have the yellow Karis. So bringing 2 brews in, and instead of using divine potions, I'm going to be bringing a regular potion so I can easily re-pot after I potentially brew down. I believe now we should be one-shotting the boulders, I think. Moment of truth. Yep, there we go. Makes things much easier when you're one-shotting them. While we did train up our prayer all the way up to 97, I think the prayer drain is still more than normal because the gear we're wearing doesn't quite have as much prayer bonus. So, leveling up to 97, obviously... Oh, wow, that was... self-inflicted right there. I ran into that boulder. Okay, let me just take my time here. And these monkeys really hurt being 50 defense. What? It was a pretty rough start. After getting through Baba several times, I made it to Kefri only to realize I had the wrong invocations on. On a regular run, if you're not going for the medic combat achievement specifically, you definitely do not want the medic invocation on, especially in a solo. So that messed me up, and I had to... Well, I planked Kefri. I wish I could have TP'd out, but I didn't. And then I decided to switch things up and start with Zabak instead. For Ironman out there, this is honestly something I should have thought about before I started the session. It's actually more optimal to start with Zabak, then Kefri, then move on to Akka, and then Baba. That might be a more resource-saving path to take, rather than the traditional Baba, Kefri, Akka, then Zabak method. Those are the two main meta paths you might want to follow, either ZKAB or BKAZ. While I did manage to pick up a few more combat achievements, I made it to Akka, the third room, and then I realized how abysmal my magic damage was, and I got DPS checked on the very first Akka Shadow. Well, after those attempts, while they didn't go well, at least we get a sense of how difficult this task is going to be. Our main goal is to get to a level 500 invocation and get the Osmumtum's Fang kit. But that proves to be pretty difficult as we tackled those level 400s and we were already getting DPS checked at Akka. Never mind the Baba puzzle room and at Kefri where the chip damage was absolutely insane. I did my best to prayer switch to the correct prayers during the Baba puzzle room, and honestly, more times than not, the Baba puzzle room is an absolute non-issue. It's not even something to think about on a max defense level account, or not even 99 defense, just an account with higher tier gear above level 50 defense. But we were taking constant chip damage, and even in the Baba fight, despite the fact that these days Baba does no chip damage to you, those monkeys that spawn in, those things are a problem. So where does that leave us now? Do our plans change? Is the 500 unrealistic? I'm not too sure. I'm going to have to sit on that, and we'll have to think about what we want to do moving forward. I'm not ready to give up just yet. At least I need to get my hands on the yellow Karis, and something that I completely overlooked is at least we can walk away right now saying that we picked up a few combat achievements. And I'm going to continue to go back, pick up a few combat achievements, maybe run some team TOAs perhaps. Like I said, I'm not too sure, a lot to consider, a lot to think about, but that's all the time I have for now. I'm very glad to have done the Contact quest as well as Beneath Cursed Sands, and now we have all 3 raids unlocked. Although, we don't have a good TP to the Theater of Blood yet. I need to do that quest line too. Previously, on our 50 defense gym account, we finally unlocked the Tombs of Amasket raid. Now, we got ahead of ourselves by doing a 400 TOA invocation, or rather I say, we sent a few attempts of that, but that quickly proved to be quite difficult, not only taking a ton of chip damage, but also at Akka we failed to do enough damage and we got DPS checked by the Akka shadows. Today we're going to be lowering the invocation to give ourselves a better shot. We're going to be running a 350 invocation level. Now keep in mind, since we just got to Tombs of Amasket, we don't have a few things. We don't have the Thread of Eladinis, which gives us an extra rune slot in our rune pouch. We don't have any of the gems for the Karis, and we certainly don't have the yellow gem, which is arguably the most important one, which is kind of like a get out of jail free card and changes the way you go through the raid entirely. While we failed to get a completion last time around, we did manage to pick up a few combat tasks, combat achievements, and I'm going to be looking to do that once again. So I suppose without wasting any more time, let's head into the raid. I just pre-anglered, so I'm up to 120 health right now. And we're going to be starting out with Zabak instead of Baba. Usually with the way this raid goes, there are two metas, two orders you want to go in to complete this raid. I think the most common one is to do the Baba room first, followed by Kefri, then Akka, then Zabak here. But you can also go the other way around and start with Zabak first, and that's what we're going to be doing right now. Oh, we messed up on a good start. That's okay. We already got the perfect Kronda's combat achievement, so let's just try to get through this raid. Now, for those unaware, this account is a 50 defense game group. Now, for those unaware, this account is a 50 defense account, and you may be wondering how I managed to get all this gear. Well, it's attached to my already maxed Grandmaster Gim, in which a lot of this gear I already had unlocked. For example, this Tumican Shadow is actually a dupe that I kept onto the account, so that I actually have two shadows in the game group, and I have two Scythes of Vidr as well. Not that the scythe is relevant for this raid in particular. What we are missing though is a second Twisted Bow. And what we can get from this raid specifically is a second set of Missouri. I've certainly pulled duplicate Missouri pieces before, but back then this account didn't exist, so I just opted to drop those over for bond money and split money and things of that nature. So here we are again having to do Tombs of a Masket to get a set of Missouri. Now, being 50 defense, we can wear the unfortified version, but we can't wear the fortified version. That's why we haven't traded that over. And of course, here at TOA, there is some untradeable stuff, like the Thread of Eladinis, the Gems for the Karis, things of that nature, and we're here for the combat achievements as well. I'm actually not even sure what tier of combat achievements we're at on this account. Maybe medium. And that is the first path completed. You can see we definitely haven't had a completion before, as we still get that crocodile NPC spawning. And he's also here in the middle. That's actually Krondis, okay. Next up, we're going to be doing Kefri, which is on the other side. Almost went into the wrong room. Doing TOA in this room in particular is a bit weird because you have to run back and forth to solve these puzzles. You can tell that it's very much intended to be done with at least 2 people, but it does allow for it to be soloed. Now, unlocking this raid, I have ambitions of achieving a TOA 500 to get the Fang kit on this account still being 50 defense. However, after the previous session where we attempted to do not even a 500 but a 400, I'm a bit skeptical if that achievement, that milestone, is possible for me being 50 defense. I mean, we got DPS checked at Akka. That is crazy. But we'll see what happens, and that's why we're just testing things out right now at a 350 TOA, and if we successfully do this, we actually will get a kit, just not the Fang kit. We'll be getting the Missouri kit, Missouri backpack kit. Although us having a quiver, we won't really get to use it, but it'll be nice to have just to say we did it. I don't believe we have more overlords on in this 350 invocation, so no melee scarab on that first set of spawns. Okay, we got done with the second set of scarabs. The mage scarab in particular is the most dangerous, as that is also kind of like a DPS check. And if you fail it, you get hit with the massive damage, which I do believe you can survive if your health is high enough, but it is very dangerous. Now the rest of this room should be smooth sailing. We might have to proc redemption just to get some health back, as we are getting chipped away with poison right now. Let's go ahead and turn redemption on right now. You can see that, just for a couple of ticks there, we had no protection prayers on, and because of the redemption proccing, and we took massive chip damage to these agile scarabs pretty much right away. That's just an example of how unforgiving even 50 defense is compared to 99 defense, and not just the actual defense level in itself, but also the armor you're able to wear. Currently, we're just wearing the Moon's gear, the Perilous Moon's gear, which is obviously the best available stuff for us. But yeah, it's not providing much defense, and it's actually not providing much prayer bonuses either. That is another factor. Typically, I would go power on the supply bundle for the first set, but I think I'm going to go chaos. I don't have much use for the liquid adrenaline with my current setup anyways. That means I can put away these combat boosting potions at the very least, and I may want to hold on to these regular supplies just in case. I don't know. I mean, we only have one brew after all, actually. That's kind of crazy. Okay. I will put away this 2-dose prayer, though. We actually have plenty of prayer, but not a whole lot of healing, funny enough. So that's 2 rooms down. Let's head into Akka now, which is pretty much a room we always do third for whatever reason. And we don't have space to pick up this mirror. Okay, we'll just temporarily put some stuff back into the supply bag here. And we need another mirror. We do have a 40-minute time limit here. I think that should be okay. 40 minutes is plenty of time. But it's not like I've ever done TOA on this account, so I have no reference. The only references I do have is from the other account, which has absolutely no restrictions. And even then, it's been a while since I did any solo TOA. Alright, let's go ahead and put the pickaxe away. Let's withdraw the salt once again. That is not the salt. Where's the salt? Here's the salt. And we're going to be heading into Akka. We're going to be utilizing the butterfly method. We do have the Tunic and Shadow. And on the 400 TOA, this is where we got DPS checked here. And I was just really surprised by that. So let's see what happens on the 350. So obviously being 50 defense, we don't have access to some of the prayers like Piety. And even the Cox prayers like Rigor and Augury. And in particular with the mage setup, we're missing a whole lot of magic damage percentage. So that's probably why we're going to feel the DPS loss compared to a regular setup the most with the magic setup. So here we go. First shadow. Let's see if we can do enough damage. I'm kind of fumbling here. Okay, much better this time around. Wasn't even close. I don't know if we just got really unlucky on that first 400, or if that was the norm, I don't know. After we get through this, if we get through this, maybe I'll try a 400 once again. But I gotta say, as I said before, being DPS checked on a 400 TOA invocation, much less the 500, did not seem like it was going to be a good sign moving forward. Audio actually seems a bit loud right now, so I'm going to turn that down ever so slightly. I guess I might as well blow pipe spec because I don't have spec for anything else. Very nice transition from quadrant to quadrant. Yeah, DPS does not seem to be an issue whatsoever on this 350. For those unaware, the higher invocation level you go, obviously the more invocations you add on, the more stipulations, the rooms might change ever so slightly, but also the biggest factor, actually, is that defense levels increase. Everything just becomes much tankier. But things certainly seem to be okay and doable at this 350 invocation level currently. Although our hits on this last one are a bit low right now. I may have jinxed it. This is cutting it pretty close. Oh, and I think we're about to fail it. That's unfortunate. At least we were prepared for it this time. So even on a 350, we failed to do enough damage to the shadow, and I don't feel like I missed too many hits there. I think we just had unfortunate hits. But it also just occurred to me, like, if you have a Tumican Shadow, generally it's a no-brainer that you would want to use it on the shadows here. But maybe in my situation that's not the case, I don't know. I wonder if a blowpipe would be more consistent damage. Just something to think about. I have not actually ran any calculations for DPS. But I feel like there's no way that's going to be the case, right? Like, if you have a Tumican Shadow, surely that's best. Surely. Okay, one more hit here, and that's going to, of course, I hit a 0. And this is going to be the Akka room. Fantastic. And we get... I was under the impression that we would get a combat achievement or two, but I guess not. That's unfortunate. Now for the 4th room before Wardens, this is going to be the Baba room. Do we have 2 salts? We don't, so I'm going to put this away so I don't actually use it. Although we might be going Chaos again. Gotta focus down these shamans as they spawn more of these baboon thralls. That's not a good thing, so want to focus those down first if you can. There's another one over there. Let's go ahead and keep our prayer up as well. And there's just one more wandering around. Gotta make sure I don't get dragged into poison here. There we go. That is the puzzle room, although it's not really a puzzle. Completed. Let's move on over. You know, as my salt is running out, I'm pretty sure I'm safe to eat this salt again. If not, I don't know. We'll figure it out afterwards, but... Huge BGS, although we only really needed it to hit a 20, as 20 defense is the max you can actually reduce the defense levels to these bosses. Wardens is actually a little bit higher, I believe, but for these 4 rooms... So typically in the Baba room, when these baboons spawn, I would ignore them, but you can see I just took like 10 damage off of 2 rock throws. It's very brutal. I gotta focus those down right away. Being that we're salted, there should be no concern whether or not we one-shot these boulders, I'm pretty sure. Let's just be patient here. And there we go. Just start making our way down the room so that when the boulders proc, there's not as long of an animation. There we go. Or maybe I don't have Boulder Dash on. It feels like I don't have Boulder Dash on. I think we had it for the 400, but not the 350. Without Boulder Dash on, if you're quick enough, you can actually just hit one boulder and make it to the top, but that's never possible if you do have Boulder Dash on. Let's get rid of these baboons. See, a 12 right there instantly. It's very punishing. Okay, on to Wardens. Oh, we actually get an Ambrosia in Chaos as well. That is very lucky. And we actually have a bunch of restores still sitting in our supply bag, so that's very, very fortunate. Well, go ahead and put away this one prayer dose, I suppose. We won't be needing our Fang anymore, so in the interest of inventory space, let's put that away as well. Honestly, I can't believe we have an Ambrosia out of the Chaos. I think that's very lucky. This is the first time on this account we've made it to Wardens, actually. So if you have a 10 tile range weapon, something that you can very easily do, well actually scratch that. I can't put my shadow on long range, so I won't be doing that. Good thing I caught that, that could have been bad. And we'll actually tank a couple more of these orbs just to give ourselves enough time. Let's just be safe, don't greed hits, and brew when we can. We can last hit with the BGS for extra damage. There we go. Typically, this would be a 3-down Warden. I don't know if that's still going to be the case with our setup here. I hope it is. Otherwise, we would have to bring a Dragon Dagger or something like that. Oh, 0.2%, that is very unfortunate. I even took the opportunity there to spec with the BGS. I think that actually does more damage. Oh, we're supposed to be ranging. Okay, if I had spec'd every single time, then that would have been fine, I think. But now we get a fort down, which is not ideal. This is a drain on our supplies. So it's just going to be one hit here, one tap, and there we go. Here we go. Warden's P3, Insanity is on. It's crazy how I feel like the Shadow is so much weaker without the Ancestral and Augury. And it objectively is a lot weaker. It really does have me questioning whether something else would be better due to my restrictions here, but I do doubt it. And one more hit. Okay, I feel like every time I'm like, yeah, one more hit, guys, it just proceeds to hit a 0 or like the absolute lowest number possible. But there we have it. A whole lot of combat achievements. I don't even know how many that is. What the heck? That is a lot of combat achievements. That's like half the TOA combat achievements, honestly. Let's just let these play out real quick before we move on to the loot room. And this was a 350, so we should be expecting the kit. Still keeps on going. Novice, Tomb, Explorer. Yeah, that's why there's so many combat tasks, because it's both a normal and expert it's going through right now. Still going. Confident Raider. I don't recall this one at all. Like, that doesn't even seem familiar. I wonder what that one is. It's still going. I do wonder how many points we got out of that. 9, 14, 19, 22, 25, 28, 32, 36. We got 36 combat achievement points out of that. All right, let's make our way down this long haul. First raid on this account, and we don't get a purple. Can't be lucky. What do we get out of the chest, though? Oh, we get a Thread 1KC. I mean, obviously the Missouri crafting kit was guaranteed, but the fact that we get the Thread 1KC as well, fantastic. 6 Dragon Med Helms. Wow. The 1KC Thread. Let's go. So I mentioned this when we first unlocked Tombs of Amasket in the previous video, but upon 1KC, upon your first completion, all these NPCs are standing out here, and you go through the dialogue. They ramble on for quite some time, and alright, I've gone through all the dialogue. Looks like it's one antique lamp here, and we're going to be putting this into magic. So when we completed that first raid, a wall of text just popped up with all those combat achievements, but let's not forget, honestly, the biggest thing there was the 1KC thread of Elidinus. So I have myself a needle and thread in my inventory, and I forget how this goes. Maybe I just use it. Actually, I don't need the thread, obviously, but maybe I can use the thread on the rune pouch. Yep, there we go. And there we have it. And there we have it, a divine rune pouch. With that 4th extra slot, we can now put soul runes in there, death runes. And actually, for mains and anyone out there that often makes Aether runes, that's probably the biggest thing right there. Also, if you're on the Ancient Spellbook, you can now Ice Barrage and Blood Barrage without having to put one of the runes in your inventory. You know, throw on a show, throw on a movie, which is actually exactly what I'm doing right now, but just pausing it real quick just to catch this level. 1 EXP remaining. There we go. 91 mining. And I think one more level to go, and it's going to be a pretty significant unlock. Let's scroll down here, and at 92, we can start mining amethyst.